Hi all, this is Professor Ryan. Today we're going to take a look at a tutorial on how to make a face mask out of items you have around your home. To get started, you'll want a needle and thread, or a sewing machine if you have one. It's okay if you don't. I was able to hand sew several face masks very easily. Some scissors for cutting our fabric, pins or clips to hold everything in place. You'll want at least 20 by 20 inches of 100% cotton fabric, and then 4 strips of cotton fabric for our ties, so about 18 inches long and 3/4 of an inch wide. Our first step is to prepare our materials, so try to choose a piece of cotton fabric that you have available, pre-wash it on your warmest setting, and dry it on high heat. This makes sure that it's ready for you to sew. It's also clean, sanitary, and that it won't shrink once you've made your mask. Tea towels are better to use than t-shirts or linens, but other basic materials will work. See the end of this tutorial for additional suggestions. Then fold your fabric in half, measure and cut out a 9.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle to create 2 identically sized layers. This will be your mask base. You can also include additional layers if you'd like a thicker mask, or you can build a little pocket in as well to put in a coffee filter or another filter if you'd prefer. The first step of our mask is to make our fabric ties. So with our 4 thin pieces of material that are about 18 inches long and 3/4 of an inch wide, we want to fold each piece of fabric twice lengthwise and then once more, because that will tuck your rough edges inside and give you a nice smooth edge that won't fray. Then once you've done this, you can sew a straight line along the middle of each tie, and this will prevent the fabric, again, from fraying or coming undone. Now, once you've completed all 4 of your ties, we want to add them to our rectangular fabric layers. So with the right side, or the outer facing side, facing you, pin down your 4 fabric ties, 1 per corner, as shown in this picture and in the accompanying video. And make sure that your ties are gathered in the center of the fabric layer, because then we'll add a top layer, and we want to be able to stitch everything together so that we can turn it inside out and have a complete mask. Once we have all of our ties in place, we want to take our second layer of fabric and line it up with the first. The right sides, or the pattern sides of your fabric, should be facing each other, sandwiching your fabric ties or elastics. And so you should have the reverse, or the outside layers of your fabric facing you. Secure your fabric sandwich together with pins, and that'll help us prepare to sew it all together. To begin sewing, we'll want to eyeball a midway point in our rectangle, and then from the middle we'll sew a straight line across the mask about 1/4 of an inch above the bottom edge of the fabric. And you can remove any pins as you sew past them, and then from that point we'll just continue to stitch all the way around the perimeter of the fabric layers, repeating the forward and backward motion at each corner to secure all elastic ends or fabric ties. That just makes sure that we're sewing both sides of our mask together, and that our fabric ties will be included in that stitching, so they'll stay in place once we turn our mask right side out. Once we've finished sewing and we've left a 1.5 inch gap, we're then going to turn our project right side out using that 1.5 inch gap. So just stuff every bit of fabric through that little gap until the right sides of your fabric are facing you again, and you can see all 4 of your ties like little legs. To finish up our mask, we're going to go ahead and add some pleats. This will help the mask conform better to your face, make the fit a bit more secure. So try to make 3 staggered pleats as shown in the instructional photo and video, and secure each pleat with a pin. This will prepare us for our final stages of sewing. Now, with our pleats held in place by pins, we want to stitch around the perimeter of the mask, 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the seam. This is what's called a top stitch. Make sure to stitch your pleats carefully because the fabric may be quite thick, but we want to hold it in place, so try to stitch through those pleats. And then top stitch a second time around, about 1/4 of an inch in from the first round of stitching. That'll help to complete our mask and reinforce our stitching all the way around. Lastly, we want to make sure that we're wearing our mask properly. So try to make sure that it comes all the way up close to the bridge of your nose, as shown in this photo, and all the way down under your chin. The good thing about making tied masks is that you can tie it as tightly as you can against your face without any gaps. So that can give you a good fit on your mask. The other great thing about these masks is that they can be washed and reworn again. So as the instructions say, try to wash your mask separately from your other laundry if you can. Use the hottest water available and regular detergent. Putting bleach on your personal mask is not recommended, but washing it with detergent on high heat and then drying it on the highest setting you can will help to keep it sanitary. The CDC currently recommends that everyone wear non-medical face coverings in public settings. So you could use a scarf or a bandana, but again, if you have some sheets lying around at home, you can easily make your own face mask and you can reuse it as often as you wash it. Some other materials that you can consider using are a tea towel. So that's kind of a flat kitchen towel. It's not terry cloth. They tend to be thinner. We want something that's 100% cotton if you can. And you can use generally any material, including things like old t-shirts. But if you are using something like a t-shirt or a bed sheet, you can increase the number of layers included in your mask to add additional protection. So I made some masks with 2 layers of fabric, some with 4, where I just doubled up on either side of my mask to add some extra protection. Try to keep in mind that you will want to be able to breathe through the material. So, you may not want to layer things like flannel too heavily, as that might make it harder to wear your mask. Otherwise, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.